Ah, life has a funny way of hiding its little secrets, doesn't it? People move in shadows, whisper in corners, and smile as if the world doesn't notice. Someone is secretly planning to marry you, and they think it's a simple game, a quiet plan, a harmless fantasy. They imagine control, imagine certainty, imagine that their intentions are hidden and untouchable. But secrets always have a way of slipping through the cracks, of revealing themselves in the smallest gestures, the tiniest hints, the moments no one thought anyone was watching. They think they can hide it, don't they? They sit in quiet corners, whisper in shadows, scheme behind smiles, thinking that their plans are invisible, that their intentions are secret, that the world will never notice. They imagine control, precision, certainty. Someone is secretly planning a major life event for you, and they believe it is theirs to orchestrate, theirs to guide, theirs to shape without consequence. They imagine themselves as the architects of destiny, the ones pulling the strings, the ones deciding the timing, the ones holding the key to your next chapter. But here's the thing, they forget that life is not obedient. Life does not bow to schemers. Life has a wicked sense of humor and a way of twisting even the neatest, most careful plans into something unexpected, uncontrollable, unstoppable. They plan in whispers, in secrecy, in the quiet that feels safe to them. They imagine that the silence hides their intentions, that the shadows cloak their designs, that their careful maneuvering keeps them ahead. But secrets have a way of slipping out, don't they? They slip in gestures, in tone, in hesitation, in the tiny moments that seem meaningless to the planner but are monumental to the one being planned for. Every glance that lingers too long, every word that falters, every movement that seems rehearsed, is a crack in the illusion, a leak in the facade, a sign that the plan is alive and that someone, maybe you, is beginning to sense it. They believe that by controlling the timing, by orchestrating the sequence, by planning every move, they can dictate the outcome. They do not see that control is an illusion, that the more they try to shape destiny, the more unpredictable it becomes, the more alive the game turns, the more fragile their sense of certainty. They believe they are clever, that the secret is secure, that the plan is untouchable. But cleverness is no match for perception. Secrecy is no match for awareness. And plans are nothing when the world decides to respond on its own terms. They assume that the person at the center of their plan is unaware, passive, pliable, malleable, waiting to be directed like a piece on a board. They do not see the spark of life, the pulse of awareness, the subtle intuition that notices, that senses, that questions. They imagine that their careful plotting is invisible, but life is full of signals, full of signs, full of whispers that cannot be silenced. And those signals, those signs, those whispers, they carry a power they cannot measure. They carry a force they cannot contain. They carry a truth that one day, perhaps quietly, perhaps suddenly, will reveal itself in full. They move like ghosts, silent and unseen, thinking they are untouchable, thinking the plan is theirs alone, thinking the threads they pull are invisible. But threads are visible if you know where to look, if you know what to feel, if you know how to read the spaces between actions, the silences between words, the pauses that carry meaning. They do not see that planning is never one-sided, that the observed can perceive, that awareness is a weapon no secrecy can resist. They do not see that the very act of secrecy plants seeds of uncertainty, seeds that grow into questions, questions that ripple, questions that disturb the calm they thought they had constructed. They underestimate the subtlety of life, the unpredictability of human perception, the quiet power of intuition. They assume that by keeping the plan hidden, they are safe. They assume that secrecy is a shield. They do not see that secrets are alive, that secrets move, that secrets speak in ways the planner cannot hear, in ways that awaken curiosity, suspicion, awareness, and sometimes even defiance. Every hidden plan carries energy, a current, a momentum that cannot be contained. It flows whether they intend it or not, and when it reaches the one being planned for, it can change everything, twist everything, reveal everything. They imagine they are in control, but control is fragile. They imagine the outcome is fixed, but outcomes are fluid. They imagine certainty is theirs, but life is chaos. They imagine they are the masters of the moment, but moments slip, twist, and turn in directions even the cleverest mind cannot predict. And someone who is not part of their secret, someone who exists outside their assumptions, someone whose awareness cannot be bought or ignored, begins to sense, begins to feel, begins to understand. And that understanding, that is the real power. They sit in confidence, planning, orchestrating, believing they know what will happen, believing the plan is airtight, believing the future is theirs to dictate. But the future is not theirs. The plan is never airtight, and the moment of revelation, the moment when awareness meets intention, is unpredictable, unstoppable, undeniable. They think secrecy is a weapon, but it can also be a mirror reflecting their own arrogance, exposing their blind spots, highlighting the vulnerabilities they never considered. They are clever, yes, meticulous, yes, patient, yes. But even the cleverest, most meticulous, most patient planners forget one simple truth. Life does not bend to schemers. Life moves in currents, unseen, unpredictable, chaotic, powerful, and alive. And someone at the center of their plan, someone perceptive, someone aware, someone alive can sense, can influence, can alter, can react. Plans are never absolute, secrets are never eternal, control is never complete. And the moment when the hidden plan begins to interact with awareness, when intention meets perception, when secrecy is met with insight, that moment changes everything. They move in silence, don't they? Quiet footsteps in corridors no one else notices, whispered words that vanish into air, decisions made behind doors that are locked from the outside but never from intention. Plans are being made in the shadows without your knowledge, and they believe the darkness gives them power, that secrecy is safety, that hidden movements go unseen, unheard, unchallenged. They think the night is their ally, that silence shields them, that careful maneuvering creates a fortress around their intentions. But shadows are not empty. Shadows hold whispers. They carry echoes. They stretch longer than anyone expects, and they always touch the world outside the hiding place. They imagine control as they manipulate from behind veils, believing that you cannot see, cannot sense, cannot anticipate. They imagine themselves untouchable, unobserved, untethered to consequence. They do not see the subtle vibrations their secrecy creates, the tiny disturbances in behavior, the almost imperceptible shifts in the world, the micro moments that betray their intentions. Every hidden plan leaves traces. Every secret action leaves a mark. And someone aware, someone watching, someone who refuses to be blind, notices. They might not understand the full picture yet, but instinct whispers, perception hints, intuition nudges, and the shadows are never truly dark when life is paying attention. They think strategy resides in silence, that power resides in secrecy, that the act of hiding a plan ensures its success. But the universe has a way of laughing at assumptions. Life thrives in the gaps, in the spaces between words, in the pauses between actions, in the moments when the unseen nudges the seen into chaos. Hidden plans are never isolated. They ripple outward, affecting choices, influencing moments, setting off reactions that the planner cannot predict. They are clever, yes, meticulous, yes, careful, yes, but cleverness cannot escape awareness. Meticulousness cannot outpace perception. Care cannot prevent the unforeseen. And in the shadows where they believe they are safe, the tiniest spark can illuminate everything they tried to hide. They underestimate the senses of those they think unaware. They believe absence of knowledge is absence of power. They assume that because you do not see the threads they pull, you do not feel the tug. That because the design is hidden, you are a passive observer. They forget that perception is not always conscious. It flickers in intuition, in curiosity, in questioning. It exists in the instincts that notice irregularity, in the subtle tension that forms when patterns break, in the awareness that whispers, "Something is happening that I cannot see fully yet." And the shadows cannot contain that awareness forever. They move like ghosts, planning, calculating, orchestrating, thinking that the quiet gives them strength. But shadows are fragile, they are deceptive, they are imperfect. There are always cracks, always leaks, always ways in which the hidden becomes visible. Every hushed conversation, every exchanged glance, every suppressed smile carries energy. That energy flows outward, reaching beyond the immediate space, touching perception, stirring instinct, awakening questions. And questions are dangerous to planners who believe they are untouchable, because awareness, once sparked, grows. It expands, it influences, it disrupts, and suddenly the plan thought secure in darkness is no longer so secure at all. They underestimate the patience of life itself. Life watches, listens, learns, and waits. It does not rush. It does not announce itself. It observes silently while plans unfold, while schemes advance, while secrets are believed hidden. And when the moment is right, when awareness aligns with opportunity, the quietest observation can unravel the most meticulous design. They imagine that secrecy equals control, but they forget that knowledge, even incomplete, can be transformed into power, and that power can strike in ways no planner can foresee. They believe they are alone in the shadows, that no one observes the subtle manipulations, that no one senses the currents they try to steer. But shadows are not silent to those who listen. Darkness is not invisible to those who watch. And in the space where plans twist, turn, and grow unseen, your life interacts with those currents in ways that surprise, in ways that disrupt, in ways that reclaim agency. The planner assumes they are the master of movement, the orchestrator of events, the controller of outcomes, but they do not account for the unseen, forces that exist in parallel, the instincts that notice, the perception that grows, the awareness that waits for the moment to shift the game entirely. They imagine precision, control, invisibility. They imagine that hidden planning is a guarantee of success, that secrets create a fortress no one can breach. But shadows have edges, and edges leak. Shadows reflect in gestures, in tone, in hesitations, in the subtleties of human behavior. Every plan has a pulse. Every intention leaves a trace. Every hidden action interacts with reality. And someone aware, someone alive to the subtleties, someone who refuses to be blind, can sense, can interpret, can respond. The planner may think the stage is theirs alone, but the stage is never empty, the play is never one-sided, and shadows are never truly dark when life itself refuses to be fooled. They think hidden plans are safe. They think secrecy is power. They think silence shields them. But life, perception, and intuition do not sleep. They do not ignore movement. They do not fail to notice. And the moment when awareness catches the plan, when instinct recognizes the manipulation, when perception pierces the shadow, that moment changes everything, shifts everything, disrupts everything, and the carefully hidden strategy begins to unravel in ways no planner ever expected. They think they are clever, don't they? Hiding in plain sight, crafting intentions like secrets folded into letters no one will read, moving through the world as if invisibility is a cloak they wear, as if silence can shield them, as if their motives can remain undetected. But here's the truth. They underestimate the world. They underestimate perception. They underestimate awareness. Intentions are hidden, yes, but clues always exist. They slip in gestures, in patterns, in the rhythm of behavior, in the timing of words, in the tiny inconsistencies that seem meaningless to them, but are monumental to those who know how to see. Every action, no matter how careful, carries the residue of intent. Every smile that lingers too long, every hesitation, every glance that darts just slightly, every tone that shifts ever so subtly, these are clues, whispers in the air, and traces left behind like breadcrumbs on the path of awareness. They imagine the world is blind, that no one notices, that no one analyzes, that no one feels the invisible undercurrents they leave behind. But the human mind is sharp, perception is keen, intuition is relentless, and the smallest deviation from normal, the tiniest ripple in behavior, speaks louder than words ever could. They assume secrecy is total, that silence is enough to mask their motives, that absence of discussion equals absence of detection. But secrecy is a lie told to oneself. Silence is a mask that does not last. The world notices, the mind observes, the instincts respond. Intentions, no matter how carefully buried, seep into the cracks of reality. They leave footprints. They leave echoes. They leave signals. And the one who pays attention, the one who refuses to be blind, the one who listens to the subtle vibrations in the world, can read these signs like an open book. They believe that cleverness, planning, and discretion are enough to hide the truth. They think that because they have arranged everything meticulously, because they have orchestrated every move, because they have rehearsed every interaction, that no one will see through the facade. But human perception is not linear. Awareness does not require an instruction manual. Intuition does not need permission to act. Clues exist whether they intend them to or not, and those clues are weapons in the hands of someone patient, observant, and alive to the subtleties of the world. They move in shadows, thinking the darkness conceals, thinking the quiet protects, thinking hidden intentions are untouchable, but shadows are never complete. Darkness is always perforated by light, by reflection, by the smallest observation, by the tiniest question. Every hidden plan carries energy, and energy resonates in ways that cannot be entirely suppressed. Every intention leaves a trace, whether it is in the micro expressions of a face, the rhythm of a voice, the sequence of actions, or the spaces between words. And someone attuned, someone awake, someone perceptive, notices these traces, follows them, and begins to map the hidden agenda with frightening precision. They underestimate the subtlety of clues, the persistence of perception, the inevitability of awareness. They assume that because their actions are hidden, their motives are safe. They do not see that every action, no matter how minor, carries the imprint of intention. The way someone pauses before speaking, the way someone hesitates before moving, the way someone reacts just slightly differently than expected. All of these are windows into hidden motives. And even if they cover one trace, another emerges. Even if they mask one clue, another slips through. The web of hidden intention is porous, fragile, detectable, if only one knows how to look. They imagine control, but control is an illusion. They think manipulation is complete, but the mind reads between lines, senses the unspoken, interprets the invisible, and reacts. Clues, tiny, almost imperceptible, connect into patterns, revealing what the planner thought was invisible. A smile that lingers a fraction too long, a hand that trembles ever so slightly, a tone that shifts in cadence. These are not accidents. These are the fingerprints of hidden intention, and someone who watches, someone who listens, someone who feels the undercurrents, pieces them together, and the plan begins to reveal itself. They believe that because they move carefully, because they strategize silently, because they orchestrate everything meticulously, that detection is impossible. But detection does not require overt proof. It requires awareness, patience, observation, and understanding. Clues are always present. They exist in patterns, in anomalies, in the rhythm of life itself. And someone who is awake, who is alive to the nuances, who pays attention to subtle signals, can reconstruct the hidden agenda, can anticipate the next move, can respond before the plan even reaches its final stage. They underestimate the inevitability of revelation. They assume that secrecy is absolute, that hidden intentions can remain unperceived, that the world is blind to the currents beneath the surface. But no matter how carefully intentions are hidden, clues always escape. A twitch, a hesitation, a glance, a pause. These small, almost invisible signs accumulate, interact, resonate, until the plan-thought secret is gradually unveiled. And in that unveiling lies awareness, understanding, and power that the planner could never have imagined. They think the game is theirs alone, that manipulation is unchallenged, that hidden intentions are safe. But the smallest clue, the tiniest inconsistency, the quietest whisper of awareness, can unravel the carefully constructed web. Intentions are hidden, yes, but clues always exist, and those who notice them, who understand them, who act on them, hold a power that the planner can never truly grasp. They think they can plan it all, don't they? Every step, every move, every outcome mapped like a strategy on a board, every intention hidden in shadows, every gesture orchestrated like a performance in a theater where only they know the script. They imagine control, precision, certainty. But life does not follow scripts. Life does not obey blueprints. Life does not bend to the cleverness of those who think they are masters of the moment. Life is wild, chaotic, unpredictable, and even when someone tries to hide their actions, even when they orchestrate every interaction, even when they think secrecy guarantees the outcome, life laughs, life twists, Life bends, and love follows its own rules, obeying no one and nothing. They move, like shadows, thinking that concealment is power, that secrecy shields them from error, that hidden intentions are untouchable. But love is not a thing to be controlled. It does not march to the rhythm of human planning. It slips through cracks, it bursts through barriers, it appears in moments the planner never considered. Life has a way of inserting chaos into the neatest of designs, of twisting the expected into the unexpected, of turning a calculated plan into something alive, something uncontrollable, something that dances to its own unpredictable tune. They think their silence hides the future, but silence only creates space for life to speak, to move, to disrupt, to rewrite the story they believed they were scripting. They assume that because they are careful, because they are deliberate, because they have hidden their moves, that nothing can surprise them. They do not see that unpredictability is a constant, that human emotion cannot be tamed, that the currents of connection flow according to forces no one can measure. They forget that even in secrecy, life leaves traces, subtle shifts in energy, tiny deviations in behavior, moments that defy expectation. Love thrives in those moments, unbound by contracts, uncontained by promises, unconcerned with strategy. And in that unpredictability lies power. In the unpredictability lies revelation. In the unpredictability lies the very thing the schemer never considered, the moment when the hidden plan collides with the unpredictable heart of life. They imagine mastery, but mastery is an illusion. They imagine certainty, but certainty is fragile. They imagine the world bends to intention, but intention is only a whisper in the vastness of unpredictability. Every hidden plan, every secret maneuver, every concealed gesture interacts with life's currents in ways the planner cannot anticipate. One small deviation, one unintended reaction, one spark of emotion can transform everything, twist everything, disrupt everything. And love amplifies that chaos, magnifies the unexpected, reshapes outcomes with the subtlety of a whisper and the force of a storm. They believe in their cleverness, their foresight, their ability to conceal, but they fail to account for the human element, the unpredictable force of feeling, of connection, of attraction, of awareness. They do not see that life is responsive, that hearts are independent, that decisions are influenced by forces no one can control. Even the most meticulously planned actions can be overturned by a glance, a word, a thought, a feeling. Life is alive, and even in secrecy, life moves in ways the planner cannot predict, cannot dictate, cannot contain. They underestimate the power of timing, the subtle influence of coincidence, the role of chance in the dance of connection. They think strategy is absolute, that calculation is enough, that hiding the plan ensures success. But unpredictability lurks in the spaces between intention and action, in the moments that cannot be anticipated, in the currents of emotion that defy logic, in the chaos of circumstance that defies planning. Even the most careful, deliberate, hidden plan is vulnerable to these currents, and in love, vulnerability is the rule, not the exception. They sit in confidence, imagining their plans are untouchable, imagining their secrecy is complete, imagining their cleverness guarantees success. But life does not operate on guarantees. Life operates on unpredictability. Love operates on unpredictability. And the more they try to control, the more they try to conceal, the more they try to orchestrate, the more exposed they become to the forces they cannot see, the outcomes they cannot measure, the reactions they cannot predict. Every hidden plan carries potential, yes, but also risk that life will move in unexpected ways, risk that love will intervene, risk that what seemed certain will collapse under the weight of the unforeseen. They underestimate the subtlety of human emotion, the quiet power of intuition, the unpredictable flow of life. They imagine a linear path, a sequence of events, a script they control. But life is a river, twisting, turning, surging, flowing with a force that no one can dam. Love is the current that carries the unexpected, the unplanned, the chaos that reveals truth and possibility. Even the most hidden intentions are subject to the whims of circumstance, the choices of others, the unpredictable energy that surrounds all action. They assume that because they act in secrecy, because they plan meticulously, because they control the visible elements, that the outcome is theirs. But unpredictability is always present. Life and love are never fixed. They are forces that respond, that resist, that react, that flow beyond control. And even the most hidden plans are caught in their currents, shifted, reshaped, redirected, transformed into something alive, something surprising, something unstoppable, something that no one ever truly planned for. They think the game is theirs, don't they? Hidden behind whispers, smiles, gestures, carefully orchestrated actions, thinking that because you are unaware, because you have not noticed, because the currents are invisible, they are in control. But control is fragile, illusionary, fleeting. Awareness is the weapon they cannot see, the force they cannot measure, the unpredictability they cannot calculate. Because the moment you notice, the moment perception awakens, the balance shifts, the currents twist, and what they thought was inevitable, what they thought was certain, what they thought was hidden, begins to unravel. They imagine that secrecy is power, that planning in shadows ensures dominance, that hidden actions are untouchable. They do not see the subtle signals, the minute deviations, the patterns that betray intentions. They underestimate observation, underappreciate perception, ignore the whispers of instinct. And yet awareness grows quietly, patiently, invisibly, accumulating like storm clouds gathering on a calm horizon. Every unnoticed gesture, every hidden plan, every suppressed intention leaves a trace, and those traces, once perceived, are enough to alter everything. They believe that because the plan is hidden, the outcome is guaranteed. But outcomes are never guaranteed, because life has a way of responding to perception. Life does not follow plans. It follows awareness, reaction, adaptation. Awareness turns observation into leverage, perception into strategy, understanding into action. And once awareness enters the scene, once perception recognizes manipulation, once insight pierces secrecy, the hidden game is no longer theirs alone. The scales tilt, the rules bend, the outcomes shift, and the planners are left scrambling in a chaos they never anticipated. They assume ignorance is inevitable, that because the plan is secret, it cannot be challenged, it cannot be changed, it cannot fail. But ignorance is a fragile state, dependent on inattention, vulnerability, and oversight. And when someone awakens to hidden actions, when someone notices, when someone perceives, the balance changes. Actions that once seemed certain become uncertain. Decisions that seemed irreversible become malleable. The hidden plan loses its dominance because perception, insight, and awareness are forces far stronger than secrecy, far stronger than cunning, far stronger than the fragile confidence of those who think they are untouchable. They underestimate the ripple effect of awareness. One realization, one spark of insight, one moment of recognition can cascade through every hidden action, every suppressed intention, every concealed maneuver. Suddenly, the currents they believed they controlled are no longer obedient. They twist, turn, collide, create outcomes they never imagined, consequences they cannot predict, and reactions they cannot contain. Hidden actions are powerful, yes, but only until someone sees them, only until someone understands them, only until awareness transforms observation into power, and power reshapes everything. They believe that meticulous planning is impermeable, that every action, every intention, every secret maneuver is isolated, contained, and invulnerable. They fail to see that nothing is isolated. Actions resonate, intentions ripple, secrecy leaks, and awareness can intercept, disrupt, redirect, and transform. Observation is not passive. Insight is not idle. Perception is not neutral. Awareness, once awakened, interacts with every hidden current, influences every decision, challenges every assumption, and changes the outcome in ways even the cleverest planners cannot foresee. They sit in confidence, thinking invisibility shields them, thinking secrecy protects them, thinking hidden actions are untouchable. But awareness does not require announcement. Knowledge does not require permission. Power does not require visibility. The smallest insight, the quietest recognition, the almost imperceptible observation can shift the trajectory of everything they believed was controlled. Hidden plans are only as strong as the blindness of others. And the moment awareness awakens, the illusion of control crumbles like a house built on sand. They underestimate the patience of perception, the subtlety of intuition, the inevitability of noticing. Hidden actions cast shadows, and shadows can be seen, understood, interpreted, and used. They think they are the architects of reality, but reality is responsive, responsive to awareness, responsive to perception, responsive to those who notice when no one else is watching. Awareness transforms the invisible into leverage, the hidden into opportunity, the secret into power, and suddenly the game is no longer theirs. They assume that because secrecy is maintained, outcomes are fixed. But outcomes are shaped not just by intention, but by observation, reaction, adaptation, and insight. Awareness can anticipate, counter, subvert, and redirect. It can take the momentum of hidden actions and redirect it, twist it, amplify it, and turn it against the planner. Hidden plans only succeed in a vacuum of perception, and the moment someone notices, understands, interprets, and acts, the game changes, the rules bend, and the previously inevitable becomes uncertain. They move thinking invisibility equals safety, secrecy equals control, and ignorance equals compliance. But awareness is the hidden force, the silent disruptor, the patient observer, the unpredictable variable that reshapes the game. Hidden actions are powerful only until insight is applied. Hidden intentions are influential only until perception intervenes. And the moment awareness interacts with hidden action, the scales shift, the currents twist, the outcomes transform, and the cleverness of secrecy is revealed as fragile, as temporary, as mortal. They underestimate the truth, that awareness is strength, insight is power, and observation is influence. They imagine the hidden is untouchable, the secret unbreakable, the plan invincible. But one spark of noticing, one flicker of perception, one moment of understanding can illuminate every hidden corner, expose every subtle action, and shift the outcome entirely. Hidden actions only carry power until they are seen, until they are understood, until they are challenged, until awareness awakens and turns the game upside down.